Sources tell CBS News the relationship between the Trump administration and artificial intelligence company Anthropic appears to be on thin ice. Anthropic was awarded a $200 million defense contract last summer. In a meeting with the Pentagon Tuesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave CEO Dario Amodei until the end of the week to sign a document ensuring the military would have full access to the company's AI model. Officials are considering invoking the Defense Production Act to force Anthropic to do what the military wants. The company has asked the Defense Department to put protections in place that would restrict its AI model from conducting mass surveillance of citizens. In January, Secretary Hegseth criticized AI models that, quote, won't allow you to fight wars, adding that military AI will not be woke. For more, let's bring in Ian Krietzberg. He's an AI correspondent at Puck. So, Ian, what are some of the larger implications of the Pentagon having full access to Anthropic's AI model? What do they want it for?
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions at play here. What the Pentagon wants is they just don't want any restrictions. And so the Pentagon has said that they're only going to use these technologies legally. They're not going to use it to break the law. But they don't want to be limited in how they're allowed to use stuff. The argument there is that in a wartime scenario, right, things change very quickly, and so they don't want those limits. In other words, now the implications generally of applying these technologies into these environments have been discussed a lot by safety engineers and military ethicists. There's a lot of risk here. We don't know that these technologies are secure, accurate, or reliable enough to be used in these types of contexts. And so, that there's a push to integrate large language models into these military functions. It's an area that's rife with, a lot of concern, as we can see from what's happening between Anthropic and the DoD.
What happens if Anthropic doesn't comply with the military's ultimatum?
We will see this play out probably on Friday. And so one of these factors is that the DoD has said that they will declare Anthropic a supply chain risk. And the other factor is they'll invoke the Defense Production Act to try and compel Anthropic to overcome these two red line barriers that Anthropic is not interested in overcoming. It's hard to tell exactly what will happen if those two things are kind of invoked. It's interesting because they're sort of opposite each other, these two aspects. But the Defense Production Act would kind of say that Anthropic's technology, Claude, the LLM, is essential for national security, and so would compel Anthropic to acquiesce. Now, Anthropic could fight that. They could file a lawsuit against that, and they could combat that. At this point, when these kinds of things likely will go into play on Friday, it's not exactly clear what will happen. But what is clear is that the Department of Defense wants access to Anthropic's models. They're the only ones that are allowed to be used currently in a classified setting. The other models are close, but they're not there yet. And so, you have these two sides that neither seems interested really in backing down.
Ian Krietzberg, thank you.